Browns, Jaguars, week 14. Let's break it all down. Pregame style. Locked on Browns starts now.
You are Locked On Browns, your daily Cleveland Browns podcast. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Welcome back, my friends, to the show that never ends, your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound LGB on the LOB, the Locked On Browns podcast, brought to you by the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Your host, Jeff Lloyd, and I appreciate everybody who makes Locked On Browns their first listen. And if you are not part of the everyday crowd yet, well, you know the drill. Get on the bus, subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. Show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This episode is brought to you by PrizePicks, the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code all lowercase LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Tomorrow, big one, obviously, Cleveland Browns, Jacksonville Jaguars. You guys see the segments here, how we're going to break it down here today. Getting to you a little bit later this week, a little family obligation. I do apologize, but there's no way I was going to let you beautiful everyday crowd get away without a pregame show for week 14 as the Jacksonville Jaguars come to Cleveland. Now, here is the deal. There's a lot going on, and obviously as the weeks go on in the NFL, a lot more injuries and those types of updates. So for the Jacksonville Jaguars, cornerback Tyson Campbell out with a quad. Nickel corner Trey Herndon, concussion. He will not play tomorrow. That is 2 of 3 of the Jacksonville Jaguars' top cornerbacks not playing tomorrow. Christian Kirk has been put on IR with his core muscle injury. His regular season is over. Depending on where the Jags go in the playoffs, if they go in the playoffs, Christian Kirk availability, certainly something to question. Walker Little, who is the second string left tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars, he is also out with a hamstring. Trevor Lawrence, questionable with his ankle injury. Now, if you saw some of the footage this week, yes, Trevor Lawrence is wearing a knee brace on one knee. The other leg, he has a bad ankle. The knee injury is something he has suffered earlier in the year, has been getting better. But, you know, whether it's not 100%, who knows? Is anybody 100% at this point in NFL season? No. So Trevor Lawrence, if he were to play tomorrow, would be having some sort of minor ailment with the knee. And whatever the ailment is, obviously with the ankle and where his pain threshold is, movability, flexibility within that ankle, huge factor. The Jaguars did bring up their third quarterback from the practice squad, Nathan Rourke. So does that mean something? Possibly. Does it mean nothing? Possibly. Both quarterbacks on the active roster for the Jacksonville Jaguars are banged up. Trevor Lawrence is banged up. CJ Beathard was banged up as well. Although he did finish his practice week, get a full practice in on Friday. I got no idea how this is going to go. If I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, and if you heard the crossover episode with Tony Williams, Tony basically said Jaguars at worst have to go 3-2 and would need the Texans to go 5-0 and would also need the Colts to go 5-0. For them to be in any way whatsoever to threaten the Jacksonville Jaguars. Yes, they're in the driver's seat. To me, the way that breaks down, if I'm the Jacksonville Jaguars, I ain't playing Trevor Lawrence tomorrow. You got the Baltimore Ravens next week. Certainly a big game as well. But you're coming to Cleveland. Offensive line's dinged up. You're going to either be playing good old friend Blake Hance at left tackle. And if everybody remembers Blake Hance and the time he was here with the Cleveland Browns and he did play, Blake Hance was a good right tackle, was good guard at times. Left tackle, that was the position Blake Hance certainly had his struggles at. Could it be Ezra Cleveland, former guy that we loved, Pete Smith and I myself, we loved him during his draft cycle. He was traded into Jacksonville as a guard. Right now, the need is going to be at left tackle for the Jacksonville Jaguars on Sunday. Again, I don't know how it's going to go, but either way, if Trevor Lawrence does play, it'll be somebody fairly new to the blind side of Trevor Lawrence at left tackle on Sunday. For the Browns, Dawand Jones, unfortunately, whatever the tweak was, and I'm not sure if they're just being extra cautious here or what exactly the reasoning is, Dawand Jones on Saturday has already been ruled out. So that probably tells you, it's not the greatest thing in the world. So that would mean, look, we all know Jed Wills is not back yet. Obviously, Jaron Christian going to start his 5th straight game for the Cleveland Browns at left tackle. That means, obviously, that James Hudson will now be your starting right tackle this week for a team that absolutely needs to get their run game on track. They need, obviously, James Hudson. It's not the worst thing in the world. Dawand Jones, as great as he is a pass blocker, still struggles in the runs. Some run blocking sort of that. Some of that obviously is just due to the size. Guys are be quick, can get away from him. It's, that's the one chance where you can get a shot on Dawand Jones. You got to go after him. You got to go around him. He's going to own you all day long. His run game work, it's understandable with a man of his size. Obviously, that is the case. Amari Cooper, officially out of the concussion protocol. He will play tomorrow. And I know, look, everybody's just, okay, well, it's good to go. I mean, it's been ribs. Obviously a hit last week as far as a concussion. We don't know where he's at with the core. I don't know what the expectations can be for Amari Cooper. But Amari Cooper being out there certainly makes life easier for your quarterback. Denzel Ward will return tomorrow. Of the other questionable guys, Dawand Jones out. Cam Mitchell was another questionable guy, though, but it looks like he is going to return tomorrow as far as they can say. Joe Flacco has been brought up from the practice squad a second time now. So keep in mind, the Browns can only do this one more time. If Joe Flacco is going to start tomorrow, we're not going to do this song and dance anymore, but just put him on a roster. And the other reason that tells you that this is probably going to work out that way, PJ Walker was released. PJ Walker, and he'll always be a part of this team this year. And I have fully expect to hear that PJ Walker will probably be signed back to the practice squad. The way the revolving door has gone for the Cleveland Browns this year as far as the quarterback position, you would be foolish not to bring PJ Walker back. He's got experience with the system. He knows the playbook. He knows the players. And, the Browns, you can't count on nothing right now, obviously, at the quarterback position because it's just the way it's gone. So PJ Walker will not be a part of this team, at least for this weekend, although I do expect, and little bit I did get back and reaching out is everybody expects that PJ Walker will be back during the week as the Browns practice squad quarterback. So there you go. Your number 1 quarterback still up in arms for the Cleveland Browns. Your number 2 quarterback, obviously, still up in arms for the Cleveland Browns. So essentially, we're talking about a game here where we not necessarily know who's going to play quarterback for either team. My gut feeling, I think the Jaguars are not going to let Trevor Lawrence play. I think it's going to be C.J. Beathard. We all can dance around it. Joe Flacco is going to be the starting quarterback for the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. And we're going to get back to that. We're going to get to the offensive side of the ball, what the expectations can be. Obviously, there is some question about the weather in Cleveland, what that's going to be like tomorrow. So we got a lot going on here. And look, it's Saturday already. And there's a lot of answers to all these questions. But the later in the season you get in the NFL, you get the understanding of what exactly the deal is. This is a tough business. This is a tough sport. We all know it. So we'll get to all that, obviously, as we continue to break down here your pregame episode here of Locked On Browns. Prize Picks is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. We are the easiest, and also in North America, to play DFS. It's just that you against the numbers, instead of battling thousands of other players, including pros and sharks, you pick more than or less than on a 2 to 6 player stat projection, and you watch the winnings roll in. You want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz. You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries from some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. You can go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Again, go to prizepicks.com/LockedOnNFL and use the code LockedOnNFL for a first deposit match up to $100. Jeff Lloyd, your latest Locked On Browns. And as always, I appreciate everybody who makes the show their first listen every single day. And the everyday crowd, just keeps getting bigger. You don't want to miss out. Very simple. Subscribe to Locked On Browns YouTube channel, and you are in the club. Show's always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. Now, with the Jacksonville Jaguars and their defense, and obviously focus here for the Cleveland Browns offense here, the Jacksonville Jaguars defense over the last 2 games has given up 5 yards a carry. The 2 games prior, 4.8 and 4.9 yards per carry. We've talked a ton about how the Cleveland Browns need to get the running game back in flow, back in action, and the weather looks like it's going to clear up tomorrow. So maybe it's going to be wind, but it doesn't look like it's going to be as wet as we originally anticipated it was going to be earlier in the season, early in the week, rather. So the Browns, here's the key thing. If it's not working, and this is the biggest misconception everybody has, stick with the running. If it's not working and you're getting 2 yards a clip or 3 yards a clip, you can't just stick to it. Yes, it's December. Yes, it's late in the year. You want to be able to be running the ball more. It seems ideal, yes, but it also has to be successful. It has to be successful. So Kareem Hunt, and I know everybody's excited, but Kareem Hunt, the yards per carry average is not there. Jerome Ford, we get a great week, we get a not so great week. It's been really difficult. Now, James Hudson is in. So again, this week, 4th and 5th offensive tackles playing for the Cleveland Browns. However, it is against a defense that has been successful to the run over the last 4 contests. So, yes, do you want to try and broach that? Do you want to try and attack that? You most certainly do. Now, Jerome Ford, again, this has been the same thing that's gone on all year. For Jerome Ford, it's been a battle of running patiently and trying to let the runs develop, or are you just trying to get what's there? And, it's really tough, and a young back, and obviously, and that's been some of the struggles for Jerome Ford this year is, in your mind, hey, there's yards there. I got to get what I can get. If I just hold out, maybe there's 6, 7 there. But some of the times where he's held out and tried to anticipate a pulling guard, a Wyatt Teller, or anticipate a pulling guard in Joe Bitonio, it hasn't been there. And look, I love Joe Bitonio with every drop of my breath, and former guest here on Locked On Browns. But for Joe Bitonio, it's not been the best going for him, and we have no idea what the number is on Joe Bitonio. Obviously, he's not 100% in December. The guy's been in the NFL for 10 years. But we also know he had a knee scope during the season. So it's a real tough spot for a guy like Joel Bitonio to be in right now. He's not totally himself, which is probably affecting the run game. There's no question about it. And we've kind of had the tip of the scales here where Wyatt Teller didn't have the best year last year with all the injuries that he'd been going through. Joel Bitonio shined. Now this year we're getting the best version of Wyatt Teller, but unfortunately we don't have a 100% Joel Bitonio. So Joel Bitonio is obviously having his issues. So that is the key. Will I say again that I would love to see Pierre Strong get more involved? I do. I just think he's got that juice. And even still, Pierre Strong's got really, really fresh legs. He's been barely playing this year. Even, kickoff return duties, I don't even know what the percentage is, but I'm going to tell you it's probably north of 95% of how many of those balls are just ending up as touchbacks. So Pierre Strong's not doing anything on kick return. The Seattle game, you saw him that week. It was a fantastic week for him. They found a way to get him involved a lot, and Pierre Strong certainly paid dividends that week. Kareem can be your hammer. But, you start with Jerome Ford. And if Jerome can get going, he is the top back on this team right now. There is no question about it. But there's been weeks where he struggled. And the Browns, if this is a team that's 5-7 as opposed to 7-5, you have the tendency to give a little more slack to player development. Totally understandable. I would totally agree with it. But this is a team that's 7-5, and right now currently holds the top wild card spot in the AFC. That means you've got to keep this going. That means you've got to win. You've got to find a way to win. It doesn't have to be this guy. It doesn't have to be that guy. It's got to be whatever's done to win. That's all that matters, is winning these games. This team gets to 8-5, a path to a playoff spot opens up even bigger, especially coming off a 2-game losing streak, passing game. Now, the assumption obviously is that it's Joe Flacco. Do we think there could be a role for DTR? There could be. But the problem is, and I don't disagree with possibly having a role for DTR, is that when the Browns have tried to do this stuff in the past under the Kevin Stefanski regime, it's taken away from regular game flow. It's taken away from the regular flow of the offense. So, and it's also led to mistakes. Remember? And things that didn't work out. In the game last year, obviously Deshaun was back. You put in Geno Smith. He tried to throw a 35-yard touchdown pass on 4th and inches. It didn't work. Didn't work. Those things you got to hit on. And you know what? when the good teams and everything's rolling for the good teams and usually the luck's on their side, those things work. But I don't want to see a crucial down wasted by something gimmicky. If you're going to bring DTR in just because you got a play that you love and you think DTR is going to work, that's fine. But I don't want to take Joe Flacco off the field, the big-time veteran who looked great in his first start for the Browns, to put in DTR to go with one of these reverses. I don't want to see it. If you're going to bring DTR in because you think you got something that's money, it better hit. It's the only shot you got. Otherwise, it's going to be boo birds. It's going to be critiquing, and I agree with it. Don't take Joe Flacco off the field to have DTR go out there and pretend he's a running back or something hokey. If you're going to do it, you better make sure you hit on it. Now, Joe Flacco. Look, now Amari Cooper is here. And we'll be playing, obviously. What can we expect from Amari Cooper tomorrow? I honestly have no idea. Look, Amari Cooper is getting to the point where this guy's kind of beat up this year. Obviously, it's the ribs. Took the headshot last week. The core injury and where he's at with all that. Guy's barely practicing. But being out there is good enough. He's still going to draw eyes. He's still a name. He's going to draw coverage. He's going to draw attention. But this, and it's not even like this is going to be forever, but it could be a real good possibility here of maybe, at least for this season, or at least this point of the season, the torch is being passed, where Elijah Moore might have to have the expectation of carrying more of the wide receiver one work. He did obviously close out with a nice week last week against the Rams, has a relationship with Joe. And with all of a sudden now with Joe Flacco, the Browns are trying to use Elijah Moore a little bit more in the vertical passing game. Where'd you hear that before? Everyday crowd. Come on. I've been talking about this. So for Elijah, this is a really great opportunity for him to break out. I honestly think there's a chance, and a really damn good chance, that Elijah Moore is going to get his first Cleveland Browns touchdown tomorrow. So that's certainly something to look out for. Cedric Tillman, just keep trying to get the kid involved. Look, you see a guy out there who's willing and ready to go, and you just got to keep feeding that beast. Ideally, do you want to start turning into a rookie and asking a rookie to start playing his best ball of his rookie year here as the games get tighter, it gets bigger? No, it is a little tough. It's a little unfortunate to expect a rookie to have to start taking that growth now, but it is what it is. And the young man's here. So, kid, go get yours. David Njoku, the Jaguars linebackers, they struggle. They struggle in coverage. They allow a lot of production in tight ends. Something to monitor. David Njoku should have a nice day tomorrow receiving. It's been really good weeks, and then David's banged up, and another guy, and look, everybody's banged up here. And who knows? Look, Harrison Bryant all of a sudden. And I actually called for this. I thought this would happen with Deshaun Watson when we were doing shows in the offseason. But Harrison Bryant, all of a sudden, the factor is starting to pick up here a little bit more as the weeks go on. But I think offensively, the Browns should be in good shape. The Jaguars are struggling against the run over the last 4 games. Should be an opportunity for the Cleveland Browns to run the ball. I think Amari Cooper just being on the field aids the rest of the passing game. So the Browns did get that good news green light on Amari Cooper today. I am Jeff Lloyd. We're going to continue here. We're going to talk a little bit about the defensive side of the ball. Your latest Locked On Browns continues. DoorDash, you can get 50% off up to a $10 value on your first order. So if you want to look to Athens Pizzeria, get some food brought in, wings brought in for you and the crew tomorrow while you're watching the game, I highly anticipate you do that. Get your buddies in. If you're hosting, it's a big game. You don't want to be checking the stove. You don't want to be checking the grill. Just order it in, and obviously you can use DoorDash to that. It's 50% off up to a $10 value when you spend $15 or more on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and you enter the code LOCKED23. Subject to change. Terms apply. Again, do not forget to use code LOCKED23 for 50% off up to $10 value on your first order when you download the DoorDash app and spend $15 or more. I'm ready to go. Hopefully the food's going to be here soon because Jeff is starving. Your pregame Week 14 Locked On Browns episode. Jaguars travel to Cleveland Sunday to face the Browns. A lot of injuries, a lot of questions about who's going to go, who's going to not. As of this time, we don't know who's the starting quarterback for either team. Do we think Joe Flacco? Wank, wank, wank. Is quarterback for the Cleveland Browns tomorrow. Is Trevor Lawrence going to go? The weather report has gotten a little more friendly, but you're also talking to a guy who's got a brace on his left knee. He's going to have his right ankle bandaged. We don't know who the left tackle is going to be for the Jacksonville Jaguars. It could be Blake Hance, our old buddy. It could be Ezra Cleveland, a guy that they made a move for during the season and brought him in. It really hasn't seen him in action for the Jacksonville Jaguars yet. So there is exactly where you're trying to go tomorrow if you are the Cleveland Browns. We don't know who the left tackle is going to be, so there is your target. Is the center and right guard for the Jacksonville Jaguars playing really well? Nope. So with Jim Schwartz and essentially his call to action, and you can kind of hear it in Jim's voice, and he's certainly not calling his guys out, and he understands there's ebbs and flows in the NFL, and every now and then somebody's going to get you a number. But Jim Schwartz not happy with the way the defensive line has played over the last 2 weeks. He is not happy about new sacks over the last 2 weeks. This defensive line has set the entire tone for this Cleveland Browns team this year. And coincidentally enough, probably you lost your last 2 games. What part of your team has not played very well? Your defensive line. Got to think there's some correlation there, people. So that needs to get right. So you're telling me the center and the right guard are having struggles. That hopefully helps the defensive line, defensive tackles get back. Delvin Tomlinson, Maurice Hurst, of course, Jordan Elliott, of course, Shelby Harris, of course. And then what are you doing to the left tackle? You send in Miles? I'm okay with that. You send in Zadarius? Yep. You okay with that? You send in Okoronkwo? Yep. Okay with that. You need to attack the living daylights out of the left tackle. If you want to bring blitzes off the left side. So it's Miles and you want to bring Grant Talbot. If it's Miles and you want to bring JOK. And JOK has been fabulous this season. And he has been one of the few bright spots for this Cleveland Browns defense over the last couple of weeks. JOK seems to just get better and better. Question is going to be Anthony Walker. How many reps do you see? With Anthony, I don't know if it's just a bad spot. And look, Anthony's been through a lot physically. He truly has. And an absolute team leader. We all know the type of guy this is off the Walter Payton Man of the Year award. But facts are facts. Sione Taki's outplaying him right now. And that's certainly something that is going to have to be a big thing to watch in the game Sunday is who becomes the linebacker that takes all these reps with JOK, because it's going to be crucial. And the Browns, whatever way it goes for the Jaguars offense, they're going to try and run the ball here. Either you're going to try to make it easier for Trevor Lawrence, or B, you want to get a running game going for CJ Beathard. Travis Etienne, certainly old friend, again, another one, old friend Dearness Johnson. Browns defensive line needs to get back to what they've been doing all season long and setting the tone not only for the defense, but setting the tone for the entire team. This is what has driven this team to this point. This is why this team is 7-5. The Browns defensive line needs to get back to the dogs that they've been. Huge, 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 huge. Secondary, you're getting Denzel Ward back. You're getting Cameron Mitchell back. So for the last few weeks, obviously, the Cleveland Browns have been playing without their top corner, number one. That puts 2 and 3, elevates them. Your fourth corner, obviously, the rookie Cameron Mitchell, he was out. So that now brings other quarterbacks in the fold. So you were playing with cornerback 2, 3, 5, and 6. 1, 2, 3, and 4 certainly has a lot nicer ring to it. Christian Kirk out. Ridley. And I actually poo-pooed when the move was made, because you remember Jacksonville traded for him while he was suspended, on the I hate to say gambling, the betting, because gambling makes it sound so like illegal or whatever. The betting charge, obviously, for Ridley. He's out. Zay Jones, another guy that can still make plays. You certainly got to worry about that. And what has always been one of the biggest bugaboos for the Cleveland Browns in defense, covering the tight end. Evan Engram is playing lights out. Put up good production in his time with the New York Giants. He's putting up really, really great production for the Jacksonville Jaguars. Really comfortable, really smooth, happy, just in a good zone. Evan Engram is a nice tight end, and he can certainly make for a miserable day tomorrow for the Cleveland Browns. They need to have their tight end coverage on tap. Now, the Browns, obviously, a lot this year before the injury to Rodney McLeod was a 3 safety play. Obviously, it doesn't look like Deron Harmon's coming up. What exactly their plan is going to be for Evan Engram, it's going to be crucial. Is it going to be Juan Thornhill? Is it going to be Grant Delpit? It could be JOK. They have to make sure that Evan Engram is a player they take away. So obviously, keys for the Cleveland Browns obviously are attacking whatever quarterback is behind center, are setting the tone. You can't, we can't expect them to be a team that gave up less than 100 yards twice. So we're not saying, oh, go out there and do that again. I mean, it's ridiculous. The other guys are pros too. But you can't be giving up these 12 and 13, 75, 80 play drives. It just kills your defense. The guys get gassed out, and it's, obviously a bunch of time comes off the clock, and it just makes for a much more difficult road. But do I think the Browns are capable? No, I think the Browns have a really good shot defensively of pulling this one out tomorrow. I do. The key to it, of course, is going to be Trevor Lawrence. And if Trevor Lawrence is out there, how mobile is he? Because if he isn't mobile and you're on left tackle number 3, possibly left tackle number 4, he's a sitting duck to a pissed off Cleveland Browns defensive line. That is a scary, scary thought to have. My prediction for tomorrow, Cleveland Browns walk out of their home stadium. Let's go 23-10. 23-12, 23-14, somewhere like that. I think Joe Flacco has a nice day, 250 plus again. Elijah Moore gets his first Cleveland Browns touchdown. I think there's a good chance we're going to get a Cleveland Browns defensive touchdown tomorrow. And if you ask me to give you a name, I'll give you a name. Martin Emerson Jr. scores his first NFL touchdown tomorrow for the Browns. I am Jeff Lloyd, your host here, 7 seasons now with you all covering the Browns here for Locked On. I appreciate each and every one of you who make Locked On Browns your first listen every single day. Join the everyday party. Find out how great it is by subscribing to Locked On Browns YouTube channel. And of course, the show is always available, always free, wherever you get your podcasts. This has been your daily delivery of all things Dog Pound. LGB on ELOB. Let's go Browns.